You're listening to the Joe Kamo Show. Real sports, real talk.
Big episode, and I'm telling you, man, every episode I've done so far has been a big episode, but I've got Beneil Dariush on the show. He is, what are you now, top 11 lightweight in the UFC?
Yeah, I guess I'm number 11. I've been hoping for better better matchups and things like that, but a little bit more difficult than I thought this time to get some top level guys. It's been kind of tricky.
Yeah, man, welcome to the show. You are I believe you're episode 6 on the Joe Kamo Show. I just started this podcast about, I don't know, like a week ago, and I'm glad that you're one of the first guys here because you and I share a lot of things. We share an ethnicity, man. We're both Assyrians.
Not too many of us going around right now.
See, a lot of people don't know that. What is Assyria? Is that Syria? No, it's Assyria, guys. Ancient Mesopotamian country, no longer around. It's kind of where the Middle East is. And I was actually born Canadian. You know, I have my roots in the States. I have relatives in Chicago, but a lot of people don't know this. And a lot of people are learning more about me with this show. And again, this show isn't about me, but I just had to go into that because I've never told anybody too much about my background. It's just, I've just been so focused on fantasy football. This is who to draft. This is who to pick. So this show has really opened myself up, and it's opening up more people that are coming on to the show.
Plus, it helps that I'm Assyrian, so like you're giving background on me too as you do that.
Yeah, and that's not the only reason I brought you on. I brought you on because, again, we've been Facebook friends, Instagram friends for a while, and I've been loving what you've been doing in the UFC. Again, I'm not here to talk about myself, but I do have an MMA background, and I understand what's going on. You're on a 5-fight win streak right now, and when you have that type of momentum, you want to keep it going. I know how important that is for the UFC and ranking and going up. So there's a lot to dive into in regards to your mindset, how you feel about this record, what some expectations are, when your next fight is, what it's like being in the UFC, because you've hit the pinnacle of sports. When people look at this, like UFC, I mean, this is huge. I mean, you're one of, if not the toughest fighters on the planet at 155. It is kind of a big deal, honestly.
Uh, people keep trying to tell me that, but I always have to tell them like, hey, it's not that big of a deal because if you make a big deal out of it, then it's kind of stressful. But yeah, I see what everybody's saying. I get it. Like I could be 1 or 2 fights away from being the champion, especially if they're the right fight. So right now, I hear everybody. I'm just taking it all in and kind of just appreciating everything, and I'm hoping for the right fights, like you said.
One thing I've noticed about you is you've always stayed humble. And I was talking to one of my mentors who's been a pioneer of martial arts, and he's done everything from Tai Chi to animal control to like, he's done every style of martial arts from karate. He's been at it for 30 years. He was a mentor of mine. He's actually episode 1 of this show. And I asked him, like, what is the main thing that gets fighters into MMA and why do you even want to fight? Because it's such a crazy thing. And for me, and I did it for the wrong reasons. It was for fame. It was for the name. It was for the legacy. And then I realized after getting hit in the head after 2 amateur MMA fights and just coming home with headaches and stuff like that, I was just like, man, it's not for me. And it's just not worth it for me. And he said that money is the driver for a lot of people. For you, what is your why? Why are you doing this? What is this? What are you trying to leave? Is this legacy? Is it for your nation, or is it just a combination of everything?
When I first started doing this, it was because it was the most natural thing to me. Like fighting was just the most basic, the most um, inner thing that I can do. It made sense to me. It was easy. It was let's say first instinct.
Right.
Like and once I started doing it, and then I started doing it as a profession, then the goal became just winning. My goal was like, if I win, then everything's gonna be all right. As long as I'm winning, my whole life, everything's gonna be fine. But throughout the years, I've come to a point where I've realized everything that I have, everything that I've gained, it comes from the Lord, and what I do now, I do it for the Lord. So I'm a devout Christian. Even my fighting, most people might not recognize it as a ministry, but even my fighting, I consider it a ministry, and that's all it is. I just want to glorify God.
Yeah, I have a lot of faith that you're going to succeed going forward. Now you're on this 5-fight win streak. And prior to that, I think I looked at the record. You were on a big tear of 5 wins, and you had a loss, a draw, and I believe a loss. Correct me if I'm wrong. And now I think you've finally gotten to this groove. Knock on wood, everything goes well, God willing. You continue to go forward. Is this something do you feel that momentum going forward? And I just want to go off on a tangent here. With football, there's football players that, after an amount of time, they get really old. You're not old, you're only like 31. They get really old and they fall off, they don't reemerge. But then there's some players that come back and they've got this momentum and they go on this tear for 3 years. And it's this momentum. I see it all the time in football. Like even the rookies that come in, their first year isn't that good. They come out with college expectations. These guys are supposed to be the main rookie, the best of the best. Their first year is crap. Then after that, they go on, second year is okay. And then they start going tear 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 good years in a row with amazing statistics and everything. I think, in my opinion, from watching you, I think you found your rhythm. You found your groove. Leave the past in the past, move forward. Do you agree that now you've got the train is going forward? And have you felt the best that you've ever felt?
Yeah, I mean, I feel the best I've ever felt without a doubt. And I think for, I had the stint where I was just having such a hard time was I was, I was young and I didn't understand how injuries worked. Like I didn't understand, physical therapy and recovery. So like I spent a lot of time fighting, um, where I should have been more focused on recovery. And it really, I think, hindered my performance. But we kind of we got that figured out, and we're moving forward. And I think people are seeing the difference with me now than those fights. So I think I don't know if I've gained anything new in terms of training differently or in terms of fighting differently. The only thing that's really changed is me being able to train like I did when I was younger. When I was younger, I'd do 2 practices a day minimum. And now I'm back to that. Now I do 2 practices a day minimum. I don't have neck problems. I don't have my shoulder problems. So stuff like that helps me train 2 times a day. And if I'm training 2 times a day, it doesn't matter who I fight. I'm going to be fine.
Now, how does I was never a pro, but what my training would look like, I can barely remember. It was like 10 years ago when I was doing MMA. I would basically wake up, I'd do like a run or something like that, I'd do some weight training, then I'd roll a bit in like noontime, then I'd do some sparring, and I'd kind of balance my sparring because I didn't want to get punched in the head every single day. How does your training look kind of on a week-to-week basis? How much time are you putting in? Do you have a rest day? Like, do you have any day where like, okay, I'm just going to sit down and play video games, watch TV? So what does your training kind of look like right now?
I do 2 days basically, except for Saturdays. Saturdays like one long practice. I'll go wrestle, do my sprints on a hill, and then at the top of the hill, I'll do some striking, and then I'll be done. Altogether, it's like 2.5 hours. But I'll take you through like a Monday. Monday, I have a striking practice with Rafael Cordero. I'll go to practice. We'll do whatever we need to in terms of mitt work and things like that. There'll be some uh, light sparring as
Right,
you
right.
said. Yeah. And then in the afternoon I'll have some strength and conditioning, and that'll be my Monday. Um, yeah, and then Tuesday kind of follows. I'll wrestle. Right now, one of the things I focus a lot on is wrestling. I really just fell in love with it recently, so I've been just wrestling more. I just find I've been trying to find like college kids and high school kids to wrestle with, like top level guys to wrestle with, and just get beat up. Wrestling is it's so different than like striking and doing jiu-jitsu, but I'm really enjoying it right now. So I want to ride that as long as I can, because a lot of people don't enjoy wrestling. So while I'm enjoying it, I want to do it as much as I can.
Right. Looks like you've got, and again, correct me if I'm wrong. I basically went on SureDog and scouted you out here. 5 knockouts by wins, and then 8 submissions and 6 decisions. Is that correct? That's how you've won your matches, pretty much.
Yeah, and to be honest, I wasn't really much of a knockout guy until again my left shoulder and neck were messed up. And once that started getting better, the knockouts seem to have been coming back. Yeah, so it's interesting. Like I didn't think I was going to be a knockout guy, to be honest with you. I thought I was going to be more of a defensive striker and more grappling focused. But people are so worried about my grappling. Just things happen with the hands, and surprisingly, it's exciting too.
What are you walking around at right now? I know you fight at 155, I believe. What do you walk around at on a daily basis?
I'm easily 180, if not more.
So weight cuts start what, about 2 weeks before fight, maybe, or one week and a week before?
Well, it depends of when the fight is. Sometimes I'll get a 3 weeks notice, so they start 3 weeks. But if I get like 8 weeks notice, I could start dieting and just get my weight down, and it'll be a way nicer cut. Because normally I cut about 12 to 15 pounds of water weight, and ideally I want to do 12, not 15 or 20 pounds of water weight the week of the fight. I've only had to do 20 pounds one time, and it was in New Jersey. I took a fight with Jim Miller short notice.
Right.
It was terrible, but it is what it is.
So I remember doing my weight cut again. I'm being very humble with this. Don't nobody come at me and say, Joe, you think you're an MMA fight. I'm not. Like I had a couple of fights, but I did one. I did this extreme MMA fight in Vancouver once in Canada. And it was like this extreme MMA. It was like 3 minutes. It was it just go full out. And it was like once you're down, it was like I think it was like a 15-second rule. They stand you back up. It was ridiculous. And you keep going. It was like UFC 1. So I won the first one, and then you bloodied up and you got to go to the second one. So, I mean, the first guy kind of beat up. He was a slouch. So I beat him up. The second guy clipped me in the back of my head here. I fell down. He knocked me out. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is weight cuts were a bitch. They were really frustrating. I remember I was craving a carb. It was like cucumbers in the morning. It was like chicken in the afternoon. It was like water, but are they terrible for you? Do you dread them?
Yeah, man, weight cuts are they suck. I'm if I have a longer camp, it's better because I'll bring my weight down about 168 if I can, ideally. And if I'm 168, it's just 12 to 13 pounds I have to cut in water, which isn't too bad. But I've had to do 15 to 20. 15 is average, 20 is terrible. I did 21s for when I fought Jim Miller. It was a 3 weeks notice, and I was a bit heavy, so that was rough for me. But yeah, normally it's all about discipline. To be honest with you, if you're disciplined, even the weight cut's not too bad.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about March 7th. Now, I want to get people up to date. This was before the whole world pandemic thing. I was watching UFC, I believe 248. It was Adesanya, I think it was Romero fight, March 7th.
Right.
That's the fight you fought. I don't know names very well. Draker Klaus, am I pronouncing that right?
Drakkar Close.
Drakkar Close. See, I'm terrible with names. Don't don't have Draker Klaus. See, that's what I mean. I'm terrible. I do this in football and I get grilled, man. Why? There was a guy named Samaje Perine. I call him Samaj Perine. Like it's bad, dude. Like I'm terrible with names. So I'm watching this fight and I ordered the pay-per-view. This is when I'm really getting back into UFC. I've got chicken wings and me and the wife are watching it. And like I'm a fan, so I want you to win. There was at one point, were you a little shaken up? And then I don't know what happened. You got hit, and then you're coming back, and you honestly look like a zombie or like something. Was there something that switched in your head, like something snapped, and you came out and you knocked them out? Right? What happened in that fight near the end? And I think you got knocked out of the night. Did you not, or something like that?
Yeah, I got a performance of the night. So what happened? Basically, we had a game plan for that fight, and the game plan was to work the takedown, control the opponent, and finish the submission, which I did in the first round. That was I took him down and I controlled him. I couldn't get the submission, but it was pretty much exactly to the game plan. Round two, I was fine. Everything was good, but I just started a little slow, and people thought my legs were tired because of the takedowns, and I was on the back for a little bit. But in reality, they weren't. And then I heard his corner screaming, like, go, he's tired. So they really hyped the guy up, and he came after me, and he landed some good shots. But people thought I was hurt. In reality, I was never really hurt. It just, I for a second, I was thinking about my game plan. I was thinking about like his corner, like, shut up, quit screaming. I'm not tired. There was a lot going on in my head, and then finally he hit me, and I just kind of woke up, and I was like, you know what? This isn't the guy that's going to beat me. This isn't the guy that's going to, put me away. So I just started firing. I had a lot of things that had gone so before the camp. I had torn my MCL, and we didn't go to the doctor because we didn't want them to stop the fight. So I had more pressure than usual. So when you kind of see me kind of pause and second guess things in the fight, it was a lot of it, I think, was because of the pressure. I had so much going on, and I kept trying to follow the game plan, but the game plan wasn't meant to be. It was that was meant to be.
Knock on wood, it worked out, but it looked like you snapped. Like, honestly, it looked like you just had I don't know whether you seemed out of it or just something. Did you watch
Well,
that? Did it look like you
that's what I
snapped?
mean. That's what I mean. Like, there was so much pressure with the injury, with just the way everything was going, and I never follow game plans in a fight because I just kind of move with and the game plan. We had such a game plan. I had put such a game plan in my head, and I think it just put more. Then after getting hit a couple times in the second round, my brain was just like, "All right, dude, what are you doing? Just stop. Just you know." Get out of here and do
Move
what you're
on.
supposed to do. Yeah, move on. Quit thinking and just be you.
Now you're 19-4, but the thing is, it's weird because it seems like you won 5 fights, but it's been stretched out. Like, it's been 2 years for 5 fights. Do you want to start bringing these fights closer together? Do you find that the rhythm you're moving in right now is good for you?
Well, one of the reasons why it was so slow was, again, my neck injury. Every time I would fight, I would have to spend so much time in physical therapy and just recovery. Even considered surgery, still considering surgery. That was one of the reasons. The other reason too is it gets harder to find fights. The more impressive the fights are. So I was supposed to fight Charles Oliveira like what was it, like a month ago. I took a short notice right after my last fight. They called me to fight Charles Oliveira October 3rd. I said let's do it, and like 2 weeks into the camp he pulls out. So there was about 3 weeks left before the fight. He pulled out of the fight, and it was such a high ranked fight. I would rather wait for that than just take on fights because, if I beat the number 6 guy, I'm possibly number 6 or number 5 right
Right.
away. But if I beat, like, let's say two more people, and I might still not be ranked that high, or I might need to beat 3 more people. So my team, my coaches, my management, everybody's like, hey, I think you should wait. So I said, all right, I'll wait.
So the next fight that we're going to see is probably be against a top 10 guy. That's what we're looking for now.
Yeah, ideally is going to be Charles Oliveira, especially since he signed the contract. I mean, he said he was going to fight me. I said I'll fight him. So it makes the most sense for me to fight him.
So when's that anticipated to happen, if it does happen?
Well, that's the thing now. He pulled out of the fight. I think it was personal problems. And then now he's coming back and he's like, well, I want a top 5 guy. He's like, I'm on a run. I'm on this. I'm on that. I want a top 5 guy. All of a sudden he forgot about me. So I don't know.
That's the BS politics, because again, to him, as good as you are kind of like he doesn't want to step down, essentially. Like the psychological thought, he thinks that he's stepping down. It's weird. It's like, it's a gatekeeper thought process too, right? Like, if you take on another guy and lose to a number 30 guy, then it kind of lowers your ranking. But I mean, you, after a 5-win streak, I mean, you're not even that far outside the top 10. I mean, you should definitely be considered there at this point.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Fighters know better. They know the rankings or whatever. And it's now about risk management.
Right.
Do you fight a guy who's number 11 and very dangerous, or do you fight the guy who's number 5 who's also very dangerous, but if you lose to him your rankings don't change?
See, I don't like that, but you should be able to fight whoever. I think if you're 6, bring me the 10. I'll fucking smash them, right? Like, so many people are so scared. It seems not scared, but they're so protective of that record, which is understandable because you don't want your record to be mush. But you look at a guy like Khamzat, right? Like, he's come out, he's beat a bunch of guys, and he's going to be a guy that it seems like he's getting a lot of steam, that guy, but I think people would probably be afraid to fight him, right? The Khamzat guy?
Well, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Once he gets ranked, guys outside the rankings are going to be calling him out all the time. That's the thing. That's the thing people don't understand. When I got into the right now I'm number 11, and I think I was like 14 before. Like, guys were calling me out outside of the top 10. Like, Scott Holtzman actually asked to fight me. So which was my last fight. And I kept trying to ask for top 10 guys, and they weren't giving me any top 10 guys. And I said, all right, I'll fight Scott Holtzman. So that's what happened. That's why my fight in August was against Scott. So I think with Hamzat, what's going to happen is once he gets ranked, people from outside the rankings are going to call him constantly. Right now, I probably have somebody outside the rankings who wants to fight me. I bet you there's a list of guys outside the rankings who want to fight me. I fought more guys outside the rankings than anyone I can think of in our division. So my team is like, okay, it's time for you to like chill out and wait for this fight. When I was ranked, I fought guys that were very dangerous at the time, like James Vick, who was undefeated. I was the first guy to beat him, and Rashid Magomedov, same thing, undefeated in the UFC. Again, same thing. Scott Holtzman, never been finished. Another guy, like, man, I just over and over again. You fight guys that are not ranked, and then you risk everything to fight these guys. Because if you lose to a guy who's not ranked, they might just kick you out of the ranking. So I've done this over and over and over again. So now we're like, okay, none of this. We're gonna wait for Charles. But at the same time, man, I'm a fighter, and I enjoy fighting, and I have only so much patience. So we'll see how this goes. I'm going to try to be as patient as I can be, but deep down, the only thing that makes sense to me is fighting. So we'll go from there.
Now, outside looking in, and for your best interest, I would say wait. I would say wait for a ranked guy. It's well deserved now. You're in a 5-fight win streak. You don't want, I don't want to say a nobody, but you don't want someone who's not ranked to come in and just maybe land a lucky shot. Now here I am back at square one. A smart move would be to fight the ranked guy. You're in right now. I wouldn't want to mess with that. That's my opinion, but that's me.
Yeah, that's the smart move. But that's just so political, and I'm man, since I was a kid, like the easiest thing to do was like, okay, well, we can't figure this out. Let's just fight it out, and then it'll be fine.
But you got to look at what's advancing you. You got to look at, is this moving me forward? So if you fight a 17 guy, even if you beat him, it's helping you, adding another win to your streak, but is it really, really advancing you, right? It's not really moving you forward.
Yeah. I hear you. I hear everybody. Trust me. I've had this talk a million times. It's just, yeah, it is what it is.
I want to talk about the Gaethje Khabib fight, because this is something that you watch this fight, and these are guys you're probably observing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've trained with Gaethje. I helped him out for the Tony Ferguson fight, so it was a tough fight to watch. I was actually surprised how the fight went.
It almost, I don't know, like, again, I've been watching fights for a long time. Here's how I would call it. And again, I'm not an expert. I'm trying to stay humble with this. I think that Gaethje was psyched out. I think it's like I think it was a mental thing. He didn't look tight. He looked like he was he looked nervous. It looked like he was trying to prevent the takedown. That was his fault. I just don't want to end up on the ground. I don't want to end up on the ground. I don't want to end up, and then he ended up on the ground. He's looking at the clock. Shit, I'm on the ground, right? I think that's what was going through his head. Again, I could be completely wrong, but watching fights for years, that's my breakdown of it. And when he got to the ground, he was in trouble. But first of all, let's start with that. Do you think that's what happened there? How would you kind of break this down?
I think the fact that he was, I think you're right about him worrying about the takedown, which every fighter who fights Khabib should be. But we also have to recognize how good Khabib is. He feints, he strikes. He feints, he strikes. He feints, he takedown. He fake strike, fake takedown, fake. He's hitting every level of MMA at such a high pace. Most guys in an MMA fight, in a 3-round fight, will shoot like 3-4 times. He shoots 5 to 7 times in one round. That's the difference. Like, his output is crazy. He has power in his hands. People don't like his striking. People say his striking is not that good, but 1, he doesn't get hit. 2, he throws these awkward combinations that land, so it pisses people off. So I think you just have to recognize how good Khabib is, and then Justin did the best he could, and I just think he just wasn't ready for the ground game.
So I want to talk about this. Like, I know Khabib is amazing, like, he's phenomenal, but if I'm Gaethje and my biggest fear is Khabib on the ground, would you not start training with guys? And you would know this better than me because you're at training camps. I would, if I'm you or him or whatever, I'd say, bring me a 260-pound sumo wrestler, have him lay on me and just throw me around. Give me the best wrestlers on the planet. And I want to extensively focus on being pinned to the fence and I want to get out of it. Why is it that they cannot escape Gaethje? Is he that good with the body control? Like, just get out of it. Focus on it. Like, I don't get it.
Well, I think one, he is that good, and then two, like you can bring in whoever you want for 2.5 months. That doesn't mean you're going to be able to prepare for what he's been practicing for 28 years or
Right.
30 years or whatever. So
Wrestling
you
bear.
have to recognize that. Um, the way Habib fights, he's been fighting like that for a long time, and you know, if you go and pick up a couple of tricks in a couple of months, those tricks might not be enough. And you know, I think Justin, his goal was like, I can't learn that level of grappling in 2.5 months. But if I could stop the takedowns, all of a sudden this is a close fight. All of a sudden this is a striking match, which favors Justin. So I think what Justin would try to do in those couple of months was make sure his takedown defense was great and his ability to get up too. But and he actually stopped a lot of takedowns. I think he stopped like 3 or 4 takedowns from Habib, and then things just, you know, it's a mixture of things. It was the stopping the takedowns, but then you're getting hit by strikes, and then you're trying to strike against him, and Justin was throwing hard and throwing 100% every shot. So I think that
Right.
took a lot of out of him.
Yeah.
So it's not that simple where you just say, I'm going to bring in all these guys. Well, are you going to bring all these guys in 2 months before the fight, or are you going to bring these guys in like forever? Like, is this part of your training all the time, or is it just going to be just for this fight? Because if it's just going to be for this fight, you're probably not going to be able to do it.
It's amazing how some of these guys impose their will on fighters. We saw it with GSP in the past. He just dominated fighters on the ground. A friend of mine who I trained with back in 2006, you may or may not know him, Jeff Joslin, fought Koscheck. And Jeff had top-notch jiu-jitsu. He's one of the pioneers of Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's like a third, fourth degree. I don't know what he is now in black belt. And if you watch the Koscheck fight back with him in 2006, Koscheck just imposed his will on top. He held him down. He just controlled the fight on the ground. Jeff was obviously a better jiu-jitsu practitioner, but still struggled, as good as his jiu-jitsu was, still struggled with Koscheck, who was a world-class wrestler, welterweight. So it's tough, man. Once they've got that skill set, it is very hard to beat them at their own game. It is.
Yeah, and that's the other thing people don't realize. Like, a wrestler will come into MMA and be like, "Crap, I need to learn how to defend jiu-jitsu and you know, stop all this." And a lot of jiu-jitsu guys that come into MMA, they're like, "Well, if I get taken down, I'm just gonna use my jiu-jitsu." But bro, what about you stopping the takedown? What about you taking people down? I think the reason why wrestlers do so well is not because the wrestling is the best tool to have, but I think it's the mindset. A wrestler will come in and say, "Well, I'm going to learn jujitsu, I'm going to learn striking, and I'm going to put the same attitude I had for wrestling," which, by the way, wrestlers drill nonstop. They drill over and over and over and over again. They put it into their striking and into their jujitsu, and I think that's why they develop so well. Take GSP, for example. He was not a wrestler in the beginning, but he recognized how the wrestlers trained, and he actually used that same method for all of his training, his striking, his grappling. He took wrestling to heart, and he really fell in love with it, and that's what changed his game.
Right. And how, I wanted to ask you, how is your mental game right now when you go into a fight? Do you have any nerves that, I mean, everyone's kind of got nerves. I found with me when I did a fight, it's like I was really nervous. Then that first fight is that punch is thrown, then it goes off, right? Do you find yourself a little nervous before fights, or are you super confident, excited to get into fights? Because I've talked to MMA fighters and they're like, "Man, I just can't wait for my next fight. I'm ready to hit something." What's your mental game going into fights? Are the nerves there? Or are you like, "Man, I'm psyched up"? What's the mental game for you?
I love being inside the octagon. I hate everything else about it. I hate the weight cut. I hate the anticipation. I hate the walkout. I hate the music. I hate them calling my name. Everything about it just drives me crazy. I just want to fight. Like, I hate the warm up. I hate the warm up before the fight, and I do a long warm up. I do like anywhere between 40 minutes to an hour warm up for a fight. So I hate all that stuff. But when I'm inside that octagon, I'm like, okay, life makes sense. So I I would kind of be similar with you. As soon as I get that glove touch, I feel good. But
Yeah.
Everything else, I have a lot of stress, and it's like day one. Nothing's changed for me. If anything, I feel more stressed now than I did back then. Obviously, I'm better equipped to deal with it, but that doesn't change the fact that the stress, the excitement, and just the pressure, it's all still there. It's um, just God gives us tools to deal with those things.
Right, definitely. So right now, do you watch every UFC every Saturday? Are you focused or are you more into training? Like, what's a weekend look for you when you're chilling out? What are your hobbies?
Saturdays, man, I want to be done training before like 1 p.m. or like before noon if I can. So Saturdays, I try to, so that way I have like almost 2 days of rest. I have almost all of Saturday and almost all of Sunday. I normally I'll do sprints at like 8 a.m. I'll go wrestle and I'll hit some mitts and I'll be done for the day. Saturday is one of my harder days. One, because the training's hard, and two, because it's all back to back. But yeah, Saturdays I like to watch fights. I normally have my wrestling kids come over, and I have just some friends come over, and some of the fighters come over if they want, and then we'll watch fights. If not, it's a family thing. Syrian family. I got a lot of family nearby. I think I have like anywhere between the 50, 70 family members in like a 5 to 10 mile radius. So I got a lot of family too. So Saturdays, I try to watch fights. If not, I'm with family.
And do you have a girlfriend now? Married? What's your story now?
I am married. I have been married now since February. So it's about 9 months.
Oh, congrats! You beat the pandemic. Imagine you got him right in time.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? Everybody's like, what are you doing? You should have your wedding in the summertime. It's going to be great. And
Wow.
I was like, listen, all of you, shut up. I'm not taking advice from anybody. I want to get married as fast as I can, and I want to start like popping out babies. Like, I'm an Assyrian,
Yeah.
that's just the way it is. But they were like, no, wait till summer. It's not a big deal. Blah 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 blah. I was like, shut up. I'm good.
Do you have
And
any kids yet, or any on the way?
working on it. We're hoping so, but nothing on the way yet.
Right. That's good, man. Congratulations. That's awesome. So like the Assyrian community, and people probably don't know, but it's a pretty well knit community. Everybody kind of knows everybody. Everyone's related to everybody. It's there's, I don't know, millions of us across North America for sure. How do they perceive you? Do you get a lot of attention from that community?
My wife always makes fun of me. She's like, dude, you think you're hot poop basically
Yeah.
when she talks about it. I'm like, dude, I'm not. I am hot poop in the sharing community, so I don't care what you say. No, it's so cool, man. I was actually a black sheep in my family because of
Yeah.
fighting. They're like, what are you dumb? Go to school, get
Yeah.
your degree, do all that. And it wasn't until I started fighting professionally, and like even before the UFC, like hundreds of Assyrians started showing up, and my mom was like, "What is going on here?" Like, and they started messaging her and things like that. And then I got into the UFC, and then she got a ton of support, and I got a ton of support, and then finally things turn around. They're like, "All right, maybe this is okay. We'll let you have this one." So, man, the support I've had from the Syrian community, it's been unreal. It actually changed the way my family looked at me too. So I'm extremely grateful.
It's weird because I'm going to be honest and open with you. I kind of feel like I'm living my legacy through you, because part of me was like, I should do the fighting thing, but I don't know. It's just, I didn't really want to do it. It just wasn't for me. I was a sales guy, right? So I'm just like, I'm just going to go to what I naturally gravitate to. And I found that fighting for me was a struggle, but I kind of wanted to be that like famous Assyrian fighter and do that. But I think I was in it for the wrong reasons. And it just wasn't for me. It just gave me anxiety. I don't know what it was. It was the training bothered me a little bit. And I was never a finesse fighter. I was scrappy. Like people would be like, show me this move and here's that move, jujitsu move. I'd be like, dude, I just want to smash the guy in the face and just slam him, right? Like I was never like, I was scrappy and relentless. So like they get me in a chokehold, I just wouldn't want to tap out. And I would just do like, I don't know what you call this, but when you grab them by the neck here, put your neck in there and you clamp, I do that one or
The
across the
gable
neck.
grip.
Gable
Oh,
grip.
okay. The baseball choke.
I do the baseball choke on people. I do the inline. It was a sneaky move, but I would lean back. I get an inline ankle lock, and I'd crank up. If I was in someone's guard, I would what do you call it? Can open
Yeah.
his head. I was just a scrappy guy. I didn't really want to just do them. I'm like, screw this shit. Let's just get to the ground and pound. So I was good, but I just wasn't on a top level type of fighter. And what brought me down to reality is we grapple with Jeff Jaws. And again, he was in the UFC. He's like a third, like I said, he's a big black belt. He's been at it since he was a young age. His dad was a kickboxing instructor, one of the top guys in Canada. And when I like line up with him, I'd pummel with him, I could feel the difference of what an elite athlete was compared to me. And I would throw around other guys, but when I kind of felt what he was like, man, he would just dummy me. He could tap me out, just like this. And that's when I came to the realization that I'm good, but I'm just not that good,
Yeah, a couple of things for me. For example, like I obviously in the beginning I wasn't that good, but one of the things that really helped me stick around was I was the opposite. Like I didn't enjoy anything else besides jujitsu and fighting, or going to and going to school, things like that. I didn't enjoy. I I was 18. I think I was working at Baskin Robbins. I was going to school full time, and then I had my training, two practices a day. I scheduled everything around those two practices because that's how much I enjoyed training, and I enjoyed the details and things like that. So I was kind of the opposite. Fighting was the only thing that was kind of like gave me some peace in life. Fighting was a thing that God gave me that just gave me a lot of peace and direction. So yeah, so you say like sales or whatever kind of work for you. Fighting worked for me. I didn't like sitting at a desk. I didn't like dealing with people. I didn't like a lot of things, and fighting was an option. So I kind of followed fighting.
I mean,
Yeah, everybody's different, and fortunately for me, I'm kind of a nerd. One of the things, like, I enjoy the details. I kind of nerded out on jujitsu and MMA. I would spend time just learning the small things that most people will be like this isn't important. Who cares about this? And I'm like, I don't know. I like it. I'm gonna try it.
yeah, I mean, I may have said it wrong. I kind of hated my sales job, but I was just more of a social person. I'm like, what do I do with it? So I took sports, which is my passion, and then I just started doing podcasting, which I really, really enjoy doing. I feel like doing this. I feel like I'm in my groove right now. I feel like, you in like round 3 of a heavy, a championship fight. I just feel like I'm in the zone here, and the world kind of disappears when I'm in this zone. That's kind of where I am. It's just more just doing this stuff, it's just kind of my thing. Again, fighting was just a challenge for me personally. It's not easy what you do. It really is not.
Yeah, everybody always tells me like, "Oh, fighting's so hard, fighting so hard." I'm like, everything you practice, it will get easier. And then honestly, I can't imagine myself sitting at a desk for 8 hours.
Yeah,
I,
me
I, I
neither.
just couldn't.
When I was doing the 9 to 5 and I got out of it, that's why I had to be my own person and start this. And I did something that was difficult too. I took fantasy football and made it a reality, something that's a game for 60 million plus people to play it. I've made that, and I've become the face of that. And that was a big thing to do. And my why is losing my dad. That was very hard for me. For you, is there any adversities that drive you, or is it just what is your real why? Like, is there something that goes in your head and says, I got to do this because of this? For me, again, losing my dad, legacy, not working a 9 to 5, it's just doing what I want to do and enjoying sports. That's my passion, right? What is it for you that says, I got to do this? What is it? Is it the lion heart? Is it the mentality? Like, what is it?
Originally, I'm telling you, like when I started training, I did it just for fun. But when I started winning, I thought winning was everything. I thought if you win, everything in your life will fall into place, and pretty much I thought winning was God of everything. And as that continued, I realized that wasn't the case. Actually, that's when God started to speak to me, and I realized fighting was actually just a tool. It was a ministry God gave me, and I would say the why now is just to glorify God, is to recognize that even the things that I do now, even the gifts that I have them from God. And if I have these things from God, if I was to be lazy, if I was to not follow them 100%, I was dishonoring the gifts God gave me. So I I try to follow this dream the best that I can, because I know it's a gift that God gave me, and to squander that gift would just be a shame, and I don't want to do that.
It's definitely your calling. And I think I found my calling with podcasting, you with fighting. I was just talking to Chris Johnson. He's an entrepreneur now. He was top running back in the NFL. 2009 was his big year. What is your exit strategy after UFC? Like, do you have a game plan after this? Have you looked at businesses, entrepreneurship? Where do you see yourself after the UFC? Because we know all good things come to end. We've seen all the great ones, their careers done, the Chuck Liddells of the world, all these guys, Anderson Silva most recently. What happens with you in the future? Have you thought about this?
Yeah, people always ask me this, and they're like, what are you thinking? And to be honest, the one thing I know I'm going to be for sure is a missionary. Currently I'm a part-time missionary. I'll travel to places like Haiti or Philippines, Thailand, places like that, and spread the gospel. But when I retire, it'll be full-time. But people are like, wait a minute. We asked you, what are you going to do for work? Like, how are you going to support yourself?
Right.
I haven't thought that far along. I own a gym. Maybe I'll spend more time at the gym and teach a little bit more. Currently, I don't teach at all. I have some of my best friends there. We started it together, and it's running kind of. They're running it, but maybe I'll spend more time in the gym. But we'll see. I try not to plan too far ahead. The only thing I know is the missionary one. That's the one I know God's called me out to be.
Right. I just feel like when I'm doing this too with podcasting, it feels like jujitsu. And I use jujitsu as a lot of things in life. I'm going to jujitsu the heck out of this or that or that. I just think it's such an amazing thing to do it. And it feels so good doing it. And I know it feels good for you when you're training and doing it. I just, I honestly, from the heart of hearts, wish that you reach the top of this level in your weight class and everything. And I do wish you dominate. Again, is there any nerves going into the next fight, no matter what it is? Obviously, like, again, do you feel more pressure now that you're 5-0? It's kind of like does it feel like do or die for you at this point? Or do you feel, yeah, it's a must win for you, right? There's no other exit out of this one, right?
It's always been like that. It's always been like that for me. It's do or die. Like I always considered every fight like that. And man, I really want this Charles Oliveira fight. I really want to fight these top 10, top 5 guys, and I really want to fight for the belt because I think I have the skill set to do it, and I think that's one of the reasons why you don't hear my name out of their mouths. I think they recognize it too. A lot of these guys, they recognize that. So I'm I would definitely put myself in a situation where I feel more pressure, and it's time to perform. It's either now or never kind of thing.
Yeah, and just to end this off here, I won't hold you up too much longer, but I want to say that I think you're one of those guys where action speaks louder than words. I see a lot of people in the UFC that are very arrogant, very hot-headed, very narcissistic. I find you very level-headed, down to earth, and you're letting your fighting do the talking. And you're not one of those guys. I don't see you strutting like Conor McGregor. And I'm like, these names are so big because of their personalities. I generally want you to succeed and be as big of them, but do it with actual results. No talking, just working. I think you're the guy that can really do that.
I hope so. And as far as not talking enough, man, my wife complains about that too. She'll talk to me about something and she'll say like 3 to 4 sentences, and I'll just go, uh-huh. And it'll drive her crazy. I don't know. This is how it's always been for me. I just try to answer people, and I just try to whatever. If someone asks me a question, I just try to answer it the best that I can, and it normally comes out pretty short. And then as far as talking and like trying to create hype or things like that, it's so silly to me. I just feel like this is something kids would do, and
Right.
the fact that we fall for it, everybody falls for it, the crowd falls for it, is I don't know. It seems ridiculous to me. So I just most important thing is to be honest with yourself, and I just try to be honest with myself.
Has anyone ever pushed you and egged you on and called you a POS? I'm going to smash you. Has that ever happened? And if it happened, how would you react?
I don't know if anyone's like gone that far, but I think some guys have like tried to trash talk. I think actually Jakar, I think he was trying to trash talk, but I know Jakar. I know he's just trying to feed his family, and I know he's just trying to get big fights, and he was just trying to trash talk, say some things just to get the fight going. He talked about like I can't remember what he said. He's something about me like be very hittable. I don't remember exactly what, but yeah, it's. I get what he's doing. He wants bigger fights, and he needs to, hype up the fight. So that's what it was. So I'm not holding it against him, but it is what it is. That's the only one I can think of.
I think if you bought into it and gave in, I think they'd be getting in your head, and we don't want that. Just keep your game, keep doing. One thing I learned that in life and entrepreneurship, if something is working, just double down on it. Keep doing it, right? It's a formula that works, and kind of adapt it if you need to as you go to kind of cater it. So if you got a formula that works, keep it going. Don't change yourself. Don't be anyone else. You don't have to be. And I think you're doing a good job at being yourself.
Yeah, and I don't know about any formulas or things like that. It's just I don't want to go be someone I'm not. Like I
Yeah.
like who I am. I'm enjoying who I am. I don't want to go out there and be someone I'm not. I don't want to start saying things that I don't really believe and doing things that I don't really believe and all of a sudden not recognize who the person you are. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I I recognize who I am right now. I recognize my goals and I don't want to lose sight of those things.
Well, you're definitely not an actor. You're a fighter. So yeah, keep in your lane. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, don't expect to see me in Hollywood ever.
Listen, Beneil, appreciate you being on, man. This was, I think, episode 6. I'm losing track already. I'm 6 episodes in. Hopefully, God willing, I can get you on again when you're champion or just before you're champion. Just understand, I'm not in on the ground floor with you on the show because you're still really well into the UFC. But still, when you become champion, don't forget about me. Don't forget about the
I
Kenzie.
won't. My only recommendation is don't keep count of numbers. Don't keep count of the
Episodes.
episodes. It's people are like, you see episode 1,200. I don't know. Maybe I did. Well, did you see the episode with so and so? Oh yeah, I saw that. I think the name is a better idea. That's my only recommendation. But
I
yeah, I'll be
agree.
seeing you.
I agree 100%. It's just right now because it's so new. It feels like, oh my God, it's Joe Kamo episode 6. It's just like the novelty hasn't worn off. But once I hit like episode 33 or 133, I just forget. Like for my fantasy podcast, I've probably done, I don't know, like 1,000, I don't know, 500-600 episodes. I lost track. I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you. But
That's a
with this,
lot.
but this one is just, it's fresh, it's new, So I'm just like episode 6, you know? So it's
I
like
like it. I
everyone
like it.
remembers everyone remembers UFC 1, right? With the sumo wrestler and the kicker and the guy with the one glove. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to come out with one glove. That's hilarious. So,
Yeah, I get you. I get what you're saying. Okay, fine. You can keep counting until you're tired of it.
until I hit 10 at least, top 10.
Okay.
All right, man. I appreciate you as always. Thank you for being here, guys. Make sure you guys follow him on social media. Links are below on YouTube. Beneil Dariush. And how do you pronounce that? Is that pronounced Dariush or is it Dariush?
Well, as you speak to Syrians, they'll be like, "It's Dariush." They don't even ask me. Yeah, I was born in Iran, so people Dariush is the way they say it because they had a king named Dariush. Iranians had a king named Dariush, and then in America they're like, "Well, is it Darius?" I was like, "No, it's Dariush." So it's just where you go. I normally say Dariush, but when the Syrians interview me, they're like Beneil Dariush. I was like, okay, that's fine too, I guess.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you being here. Wish you the best of luck in your future, man. Always a pleasure. And I'm definitely want to get you back on soon. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. Take care.
Talk soon.